finally, we have to talk about RRR, aka Rise, Raw, Revolt. Yeah, I was saving that one. Right? So, since this thing dropped, I've been hearing nothing but praise and adulation for this show, right? And this is coming from somebody who is marginally familiar with what we call New Indian cinema. Ricardo, we both of us, studied film at UE, so that's the term we're going to use, right? And that's, I mean, that essentially is how you should look at it, right? Because, in terms of what that means, it's just basically that old school style of, Indian cinema where it's like, okay, it's 3+ hours. We gotta give you all the emotions. It's literally like an event, like a sit down.
We're getting two movies. We're getting two movies in one. You're getting
That's right,
part one and part two one time.
Yeah, and
with a banging soundtrack.
Right. Yeah, with a banging soundtrack. So essentially, how these shows play out is like it's 3 hours plus. You get like a banging soundtrack, as Tracy say, but it's literally like an event. Like you sit down, you have your food, you have your drink, everything ready. You're gonna be hitting the feels. Like 1 minute you're gonna be singing a song, next minute you're gonna be smiling, laughing, and then afterwards they'll just hit you with some kind of emotional blow, and you'll be crying. You'll be like, you'll just be like angry and all that kind of stuff, and then you just be exhilarated. All the feels there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. In many ways, it's kind of like I forget what era Hollywood this is, but it's the pre New Hollywood, right before New Hollywood, where you had films that just kind of did everything, right?
Yeah.
It's a musical, but it's also this. It's also a drama. You also cover the bass, and they were massively budgeted. Like that's why they could do all the. But the idea of a specific genre, that's a relatively modern conceit. That only really started in the 60s per se, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Right, so Indian cinema never really got away from that, or at least Bollywood never did. But then, we have the new Indian cinema that's not Bollywood, because this is what
Telugu.
Indian Telugu language, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what this site did do is that it was just kind of impressive how they did it in this conceit with the budget they did. Like, you wanna check up the budget, like, that's it. All right.
Okay, I should actually like look it up because I just kind of just skim through who the director is and what he do and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because it's like a higher budget like Singham movie, right? That's how it feels, but it's much cheaper than that. So they get into a lot of deeper stuff in terms of colonialism and like all that. Yeah, right.
So before we begin, right? So Ricardo, I want you to do the synopsis, then give your overall opinion of the show. I will share my thoughts, and then Tracy, you could close things off, right? So for me, how the beauty of this movie here, and especially with the popularity it's been getting since it dropped on Netflix, right? Is that usually like every decade, right? There's always that at least one film from India that just kind of just blows everybody away, and it's to the point that even Western audiences, will gravitate to it, right? So case in point, in the 70s, there was Sholay, still one of my all-time favorite Indian films, right? Amitabh Bachchan was amazing in that. It's basically like this neo-Western kind of like going on. I forget what they call it. It's not, I forget the term that they use for it, like an Indian Western. I forget the term, but still one of my all-time favorite movies, right? In the 90s, you could argue that DDLJ is one, you know what I mean?
Right.
And although, like, in that mid to late 90s, I mean, there were tons of Shah Rukh Khan films that dropped.
Listen,
so it's like,
I'm a big fan of...
I don't know if it's DDLJ, but I don't know, is this one? Or, or Akeli Hum, Akeli Tom? I don't know. Like, they just have so much that dropped in that era,
Yeah, I was a big fan of Sultan.
Oh, hello.
I still haven't seen that.
Sultan
that was last decade. Jeez, I missed that. Yeah. I remember you covered it, Ricardo. Yeah. And in the 2000s, I forget to mention too, there was like there was Lagan once upon a time in India.
Right.
Love that. And I know even a fan of cricket, but I loved that film, right? So
I feel like you're forgetting Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, which still brings people to tears 23 years later.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my God, that movie.
Yeah. So before we get to Ricardo's synopsis on this, right? I have a feeling here that this movie is going to be one of the definitive Indian movies for this decade, right? This is one that people are going to look back on in 2029 and onward and be like, this is one of the shows that really push that style of filmmaking, further. You know what I mean? But Ricardo, take it away. What is this movie about? And then, just share your opinion on the movie.
Right. Yeah. So it's 1920s India, under British Raj. this brethren named Buxton, I forget his first name. He and his wife, visiting Adelaide, and they adopt a little girl, right? From I forget which tribe, Gond. It's slipped on my Gone. Thank you. Right. So yeah, I was kind of drunk watching this, but yeah. So yeah, the Guardian beam, goes to India to sort out rescue, and then he had a team up with my boy Raju and the uncle, and then they had to sort out get to the basically the sort out the situation involving the colonialism and just the entitlement, right? And it builds up there. So they had to deal with wild animals and a trap. And the first time I saw the this skip the clip from it, I saw it on TikTok. I'm like, what the hell is this? Where they had to run from
the tiger. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. That's where I saw it. I'm like, what is this? And I look it up and I was like, all right, Wood, I gotta watch this. And then I saw you hype it up on Tracy. I saw you hype it up on Facebook. I'm like, all right, well, if I'm like Tracy, you hyping it up, it had to be vibes, and it is. Yeah, that's basically the conceit is, the brown man taking on the white man, and we just sort them out, right? That's pretty much what's going on here. My feelings on this was fucking awesome. Like, holy shit. Like, they just spending money on it. It costs like about 72 million US, if I remember correctly. That is about 6 billion rupee.
550 crore according to this.
Okay, right. Yeah, and I just thoroughly enjoyed this. Action was great. The thing, and as I said, only thing that hold it back is the budget itself. I felt they could have, if they got a larger budget and they get somebody like Tassim Singh to do the material, it could have been better. That's the only thing. It does still feel a little on the cheap, jokey end of things. It's Singham, right? There's a lot of Singham in this, right? If you know what Singham is, right? By the way, Singham should be for the Expendables, whatever. Yeah, and that's basically just all this amazing action, great story. Dude, the man used a motorcycle, dreaded that Captain America, dude. Like, I mean, what else you want? What else you want? Yeah, it's just a ton of fun, great story, great conceit. Ass kicking had to happen, and ass kicking we got. And yeah, I thoroughly love this movie. Yeah, really, just a ton of fun. And yeah, it did help that I had like several beers in it. So yeah, go through.
Yeah, Ricardo. So I agree with you for the most part, boy. I absolutely enjoyed this, right? Now I'll confess some, right? First of all, like I had my expectations pretty high for this one, right? So I would just say like, all right, this is what's going on here. This kind of weird, all right? Okay, didn't expect the anti-colonial team and whatnot. All right, this is a little too much. All right. But still, there's some reason why people talking about this, right? And then you get to the moments where basically we're being introduced to the two lead characters, boy, and just how far they will push themselves basically to get the job done, though. Whether it's Beam, it's Raju, right? How they just literally push themselves, and of course they're badasses, so they're punching and kicking all that kind of stuff. The introductory scene, if you will, with Beam is just all sorts of amazing.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, now, this is what this show, and I was actually like worried while watching this, if it would have been able to balance it too, and somehow it managed to do this like shockingly well now in terms of, all right, we're gonna give you like grandiose over the top action and all that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous, but roll with it. It's very Fast and Furious-esque, and I have a feeling like it's done intentionally so. But at the same time, we're gonna hit to that melodrama. We're gonna really drive it into here. Just how not diabolical, just how brutish the British were towards Indians at the time, though. Just how flat out racist they were. You know what I mean? We're just gonna hit you with these moments, though, and we have this subplot involving Beam trying to find his sister Mali and all that kind of stuff, though. So yeah, we gonna raise the stakes with this one, and it's a good thing that they did that too, because it's easy to just kind of watch this and be like, oh, it's just about these two badass guys beating the British man. But nah, there was stakes involved. I really appreciate that. It really just made for some just engaging, just made for engaging viewing experience, right? Speaking of the action, boy, my God, this thing is just so over the top. Though it is just nothing short of glorious, in my opinion, boy. One scene in particular, I would just say like the third act in particular had me legit cheering, right? This is a moment involving Ram and Beam, right? Sorry, Raju and Beam, right, together, and one guy is on top of the other, right? And the other guy the guy who's on top has these two these two guns basically, right?
Shotguns, yeah.
And they're just running and he's like balancing on top of the guy, just busting shots and all that kind of stuff. It's even to the point that they flip from one point to the next, right? And the man is still on top and he's still firing shots too. I lost it. I was cheering. I loved everything about that moment. And then I'm not gonna spoil what happens in the end now, but there's a great little action sequence that takes place at a forest, and a great reveal that happens, and I was just clapping and cheering and losing my shit, right? Now that being said, though, there are a lot of I would say that, you know, if you are familiar with Indian history and folklore, well, I should say mythology. Sorry, not folklore, mythology. There's some certain cues that, you know, once you see them, you'll be like, oh, okay, that's what they're referring to, right? Case in point, in the final musical sequence, you know, there's a lot of like visuals of faces of revolutionaries, if you will, in terms of Indian history, right? I know, like, to, you know, the outside world, they'll be lost, but because of the strong, you know, political theme, I should say, you know, just the patriotism present throughout the entirety of the film. It doesn't take you out of the film, but you pretty much understand where, you know, what those individuals did, right? You don't need to stop and, you know, do a Google search or ask you, oh, who's this person, what that, right? You kind of get the gist of what's going on, right? And speaking of patriotism, well, yeah, this is all over this movie, right? So I would say that if you're not the type of person who just loves films that, you know, just kind of just hammer home the point about, you know, unity and fighting for your freedom and all that kind of stuff, yeah, this is not going to be for you, right? The villains are a straight up villainous shit. What I mean, like, you know, it's not like they have a lot of layers to them, but yeah, they are scum, and you do relish every single one of them who dies, but you just chill like, yes, die, bitches. You know what I mean? You love that, right? And also in terms of music, yeah, there's actually not a lot of songs in this as well too. And I imagine for some people who, you know, love their Indian / Bollywood films with a lot of music, you're going to be disappointed here with that, right? But the songs that are there totally work, you know what I mean? And I like that they didn't distract from the overall story. They brought, you know, a sense of joy and whatnot to the film. There's one scene in particular that I thought was going to play out way more uncomfortable than the scene was, you know, involving Beam being tortured, if you will. Where a song is used, and that moment totally worked for me, right? And you know, it didn't bring the man tears out of my boy, but you can imagine if you're familiar with the history and, you know, the struggle and all that kind of stuff, yeah, it will hit you in the gut, man. You know what I mean? If I just have like a couple gripes though, I would say some of the VFX look kind of unpolished at some points. Like there's one scene involving Beam trying to rescue Mali, and there's literally like, you know, these animals with him, right? There's one particular animal that didn't look like it was rendered properly. When you see it, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And also, it does get a little derivative at times in terms of just where the characters go and whatnot. Although, to be fair, there's some really effective twists and turns here or there. Like some stuff that you wouldn't see coming, some stuff where it's like, all right, the movie done. It's like, wait now, but I have an hour again, what's going on, right? And, you know, it will just kind of ramp up like, oh, okay, that's what's going on, right? But other than that, though, this is a gorgeous looking movie. But the cinematography, the visuals, my God, is just on point. Yeah, they pump a lot of cash into this movie, boy. And from what I read, this is actually the most expensive Indian movie ever made thus far, right? And it shows, boy, literally in every frame of this, boy. This is a gorgeous, lovely looking film, boy. But yeah, I mean, outside the visuals, though, what will entertain you even more? It's just these over-the-top kick-ass action sequences. And I will go as far as saying that, yeah, this is easily one of the year's best action movies. And I have a feeling with it going down the line, this is going to show up in terms of, you know, great action movies of the 2020s for sure, man. And lastly, I mean, you know, I talk about action and all that kind of stuff. The performances, though, from top to bottom, great. The actors who play Beam and Raju Boy, my God, they just have great chemistry together. Even when they separate, I'm not going to say how or why, but even when they separate, though, you really do feel sort of a chemistry involved with them. Because, yeah, they start off as friends, but then they turn rivals, and well, I guess when you see the film, you'll see what happens to them from that point on. But my God, from screen, from chemistry to just screen presence to, of course, just doing all these over the top action, gloriousness. Yeah, they shine by. So yeah, RRR is the real deal. It lived up to the hype and surpassed it. That's what I said in my tweet, which by the way has been getting some a ridiculous amount of response from really like hardcore fans of the show. So yeah, mostly from like Indian whatnot. I getting loves from them. So yeah, much love to your back, boy. But yeah, this is the real deal. I'm gonna give this a lighter, decent 4.5 out of 5. This is gonna be in my top 10 for the year for sure. I can't praise this movie enough. You all need to see it. It's on Netflix. You all have no excuse, right? So yeah, Tracy, in closing, your thoughts on RRR.
So here's my thing with this movie. My friend Renee was telling me, Tracy, you need to watch this movie, and I saw a few of the clips. But for me, I was like, I grew up watching stuff like this. I mean, my house has a bunch of like Indian DVDs, Indian music. We have, Putamayo here and Arabic music. There are things that I grew up watching. So I looked at this and I was like, this looks good, but this is normal for me. The fact that everybody in the West is now suddenly realizing that this is great is like, fine, but I don't know if I'll get to it. And Renee keeps saying you need to watch this movie. And then I sat down and I watched RRR. And let me tell you, that movie, I agree with everything you guys are saying. Well, 87% of everything you guys are saying there, because I really didn't see like some of the visual effects scenes, which is heights given what I'm studying. But I love this movie. I cannot begin to tell you how much RRR felt like a really good blockbuster, and at the same point in time, it reminded me again of the things that I grew up watching. I mean, for those of us who are born or grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, on Sunday afternoon from 12 to 4 is a 4-hour Indian movie that's right there. There was this. I watching this movie, I flashed back to this movie called Avinash back in the 90s, and that movie has a special place in my heart because it didn't have Shah Rukh, it didn't have the major players, but that level of action and going out and trying to seek justice, and these are things that you look at and you're like, this is great. But I got to tell you, almost everything in this movie was a plus for me. And in terms of, I'll just put this out here, in terms of music, even though you may not have the traditional Bollywood numbers every couple of minutes,
before I forget, what's the number? Is it if I don't know if you remember, Ricardo, and there's be a specific number of songs you're almost guaranteed to get in a Bollywood film. I think it's like about 8 or something, or 10.
Well, I don't know. It depends on what they're talking about.
Right.
I know they should use average like about 4.
About 4, okay. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, for me, Amar Akbar and Teddy is my template, right? So I'm for that. So yeah, go ahead.
You guys are talking then. I'm flashing back to Dawn and the remake, not the Amitabh Bachchan one, but the Shah Rukh Khan version. Dawn had 8 tracks, but really and truly was 5 because it was like 5 major dance sequences, and then for Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham there was like about 9, 10-ish. So yeah, you have like a medium of about 8 could probably work. But in terms of RRR, there is that track, Raman Biman, which is in the third act when things start happening and there's an arrow and fire and stuff like that. That track is
God, that track was fire. Literally was fire. It was literally fire.
Like I happen to be like, I'm one of those persons who like I swallow pretty much every culture to see what is and what works and that kind of stuff. And there is that sort of very religious sensibility to how they did the soundtrack, the choir, the voices that was singing the chant, and then seeing that meshed with the actors and how they were playing it out. It was beautiful. And even the idea of, not to spoil anything, but reuniting Ram with Sita, and I love this movie. I highly recommend. There are two things about this. One, I highly recommend everybody watching this. I don't know if, and this is nothing against the actress or, herself, but I don't know if I needed Jennifer's character. The Jennifer character, which is Olivia Morris, the British girl.
Right. I liked her. I liked her.
I don't know. She did it well. Olivia did it well, but I just I don't know. But I thoroughly believe that everybody needs to take the time and sit down and watch it. We sat down and we watched Mel Gibson with The Patriot, and I am not, we watch it. I'm Australian. I'm not American. I didn't fight any Civil War. And we all sat down and watched all of that. You can sit down and watch a movie about, pre-colonial, colonial era India and how that was. The other thing for me, and this is on a side, is, between RRR and, eventually when we talk about it, Miss Marvel, I look at these things and I say to myself, this should be normal. Like, the way how everybody's like, oh my God, I didn't know that cinema could look like this. I'm like, this should be normal. Why are we boxing ourselves into, as much as I will go and spend a great deal of money in it, boxing ourselves into this American franchise fest of this is what cinema should be, when you have an entire world out there. You have an entire world of film. Just put on your subtitles and enjoy something that everybody can be a part of. And I feel like RRR is one of those movies that may very well get people being like, okay, I've seen this, what's next? It's kind of like, when Squid Game came out and everybody's like, Korea is great, what else should I watch? And suddenly, people were queuing up to see other things. The
Parasite, right?
Yeah. Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, let's start there. I firmly believe that I'm going to agree with you, Sir Bailey, that this is one of those movies that is going to go down in the history of cinema worldwide. Not just like, okay, Indian cinema, but in the idea of the history of cinema worldwide. This is going to be really, really something. And it's one of those movies that I don't tire going back to see. Like, there's some movies that are long and you'll be like, I'll pass. And, there's some movies that are even short and you'll be like, nah, I saw it once and I don't need to go back again. But with this, I legitimately want to go back and see the friendship of Beam and Ram and everything in terms of the blockbusterness of it, and play the music again, play the score. I am completely 100% down for this. I would give this, just because I thoroughly enjoyed it. And yes, I was one of those people who also cheered when certain people, died. Because it was very, and this is maybe a little obscure, but they were very Ahab and Jezebel. And so for me, I was like, yes, please kill them. Get rid of these people.
Right.
I know, right?
It was just like, no, you need to go. You need to go now. And my mother also agrees, which is a whole other scene by itself. But this is, I'm giving it a full 5 out of 5. Yes, there were one or two things in there. Like, I mean, I don't expect, like, when he's jumping out, with all the animals on him, obviously that's going to be visual effects. You're not really expecting him to be coming out of there with a whole bunch of wild animals. But there's certain things that, maybe could have been tightened a little bit more. Again, my personal feelings about the Jennifer character. But I'm giving this a 5 out of 5. This was pure enjoyment. This was good cinema. This was a chef's kiss. And I legitimately encourage, well, first of all, I want to thank Rennie for nagging me to keep watching this. And I really do think that, especially the fact that it's on Netflix and you don't have to worry about when it's coming out on digital and petition everybody to please bring it on digital the way how I was stressing my head off about Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is another great movie, by the way. It's on Netflix. Sit down and queue up RRR. You will not be disappointed. So that's me.
Right. Agreed. Totally agree, man.